And welcome to Channel 44. I'm Mercy Gashegu-Sebate to bring you today's local and business news highlights together with
Here is Bill Clinton with you in our today's local news business bulletin. The temperatures are 30 degrees Celsius and the humidity of 43%. Endeavor to dehydrate and drink more water to stay alive. In our first stories, the Permanent Secretary to the Treasury, Mr. Ramadan Ngovi, in bid to ban foreign travel of ministers and members of parliament, Ngovi attempted to paint a future looks of the 2023 and 2024 draft budget. He says the size of the 2023-2024 draft national budget has been adjusted from 49.9 trillion shillings to 50.8 trillion shillings. The domestic revenue correction target has also been increased to 28.9 trillion for 2023 to 2024 from the initial 25.5 trillion shillings for the current financial year due to the anticipated high economic growth between 6% and 7%, implementation of administrative measures for the revenue correction. The latest Auditor General's report, which examined the 2021 financial year, indicates that loans totaling to 15.6 trillion shillings that the government secured are lying idle due to the delayed implementation of the government projects. Ramadan Ngovi says there will be no new borrowings in the next financial year out of the 28.9 trillion that is projected to come from domestic revenue correction, that is from the Uganda Revenue Authority correction. More than 25 trillion will be spent on debit and interest payment. In the other stories, as educationists continue to recognize the legacy of the late Professor Rowlands Muchibi, the proprietor of St. Rowlands Schools and University, private school owners have urged the government to embark on supporting the private schools through considering them during the government policy formulation instead of looking at them as taxpayers. According to Dr. Sarah, a board member of St. Rowlands University, has explained the multiple tax charges school owners face, something she says must be addressed by the government as soon as they can. Nkonge added that private schools contribute greatly towards the transformation of education sector in the country, citing that the late Professor Rowlands Muchibi as one of those people who transformed the education sector in the country to the extent that his legacy cannot be out of minds.
The legacy of Rowlands Muchibi. We personally emulate, although we cannot reach the extent of what he did, but he left a legacy which we are following. Professor Muchibi was a mentor of most of the private schools, and he was a voice. He took us to His Excellency, the President of Uganda, when we had issues of taxes, when we had issues of licenses, multiple taxation, and we managed to give a true statistics of how many private schools we have. We also managed to give a true statistics of how much the private schools are contributing to the development of this country. Most of the people up used to think that private schools were only for making business and money. We told His Excellency, the President, that over 70% of the private schools teach the national child. The same curriculum, the same syllabus, but we are not recognized as a formidable force. So I'm so happy that even Mama Janet has come to realize that private schools are very important and should be included in policy making. He's the man who initiated and who is the mentor of private education. And I want to thank the family for actually maintaining the legacy of this great man. Professor Mchibi, we shall never forget you. And he was an educationist, a man who has traveled in so many countries, given honorary recognitions in France, in Britain, in Australia, in New Zealand, name it. And wherever he went, he did not just leave the knowledge to his head. He put the knowledge into practice. This is why we see so many things now moving on. The university is moving on, the schools are moving on, and the children are carrying on the legacy of this great man. And of course, the associations like NAPEA, which he started, are still moving on and have now a national outlook and are involved into the policy-making part regarding schools, their part, and they have been, private education has been recognized.
Thank you so much. Dennis Kato compiled that tale. He made it possible for us to know about the Central Lens institutions. In the other stories, a business community from the walk of life celebrated the Indian businessman Rajesh Cheplot upon his achievement as an investor in Uganda through his business entities like Graphic System Limited. Addressing the businessman last night, Rajesh, who has been operating his business since 1998 up to date, applauded both the Indian president as well as the president of Uganda, who have played a big role in ensuring that his dream come to reality. Rajesh further noted Uganda is a free country and a good one where you can run the business without any interference. Meanwhile, on the same occasion, Minister for Investment and Privatization, Evelyn Aniti, hailed the Indian community for always making Uganda as the best investment destination, as she urged more Indians outside Uganda to come and invest in Uganda. She further noted that Indians are second best investors after Ugandans in the country, with over 1,900 direct factories, and explained how the government took a decision of finding avenues of giving back Asians the property after their suspension in 1978 by the former President Idi Amin Dada. On the same note, the Foreign Affairs Minister for State Henry Okello Oryem in the same way applauded the Indian community for the great contribution in terms of investment, maintaining the tax revenue contribution towards the economy. More of this story by Dennis Kato.
Both our daughters would always ask us when we are going back home. To them, home means Uganda. Until today, they both feel happier when they come to Uganda rather than India. My wife says that we did some good deeds in the past, which is why God brought us to Uganda. It is Uganda which made me the recipient of the highest civilian awards from both His Excellency the President of India and His Excellency the President of Uganda. Thank you, Uganda, for the wonderful times and opportunities you have given to me.
An Indian who came as a worker and then he has grown and becomes a company owner. And today we are talking about over 1,900 factories being owned by Indians, which makes the Indians to be the leading foreign direct investors in our country. That's very exciting for us, and I want to congratulate them that despite the fact that they had a very bad experience with Idi Amin after the expulsion of the Asians, that the President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni came and saved face of Ugandans by asking them to return and giving back their departed, the property of the departed Asians.
Which is an excellent gesture. Our hospitality from our citizen, our accommodation, our accommodative spirit of accommodating everyone who comes in and letting them do their business and coexisting with non-nationals and making them feel like nationals is what makes Uganda the best investment destination for anyone who is out there. But again, the gesture of returning the property of the departed Asian by the president, and even the Asians to get the confidence to come back to invest in Uganda, is just a plus for us as a country. At this time when we're celebrating people like Rajesh, investors like Rajesh, who say, yes, I've done a lot from Uganda, I feel at home, my children call Uganda home, and the Asians say, Uganda is profitable, prosperous, and peaceful. Yes, indeed it is. So for me, my message to the Asian community who have not come back to Uganda, that please come and invest in Uganda.
Literally, if you go to all the towns in Uganda, you'll find buildings that the Indians built in Uganda many years ago, showing that they were in Uganda to stay forever. That's why they build houses here. They didn't build in India, but they built in Uganda. Then they started doing commerce and trade in Uganda, okay, making Uganda their home. And it was an interruption by Idi Amin. Otherwise, Uganda today would have been a first-class world. But nevertheless, they still came back after that when they invited back. And today they have done even much better than before. But that's not only in Uganda. The world over, the Indians who went to Uganda have been very, very successful. You can see in the whole of the UK, all over the place. You can see the Indian Prime Minister now. The UK Indian is the Prime Minister of Uganda, of the UK. So the Indians have done well. You go to the United States, go to any country, Indians have done very well. But
that's it from our local news desk, and our international news bulletin, business news. Beijing will give out a $6 monthly cash subsidy to residents to cushion the impact of rising food prices, a move that has unexpectedly angered many online who say the amount is far too low. The announcement came from the city government as food inflation accelerated in China after policymakers who scrapped their zero-COVID strategy in December and eased the monetary policy further to fuel economic recovery. Last week, protests by retirees broke out in the city of Wuhan and Dalian over cuts to their medical care benefits, highlighting the growing risk of unrest over livelihood issues as China's economy struggles to regain its footing after being drained by pandemic policies. The demonstrations were the latest outburst of public discontent since mass protests against COVID curbs gripped the country late last year. The recent protests underscored the financial pressure on local governments after 3 years of the zero-COVID policy strained their coffers and the property market slump severely eroded their income. In the United States of America, in New York, Warren Buffett is arguably the most legendary investor of all time, but the Oracle of Omaha has missed out on this year's stock market rally so far, at least. Shares of Buffett's Berkshire Hathaway, BRKB conglomerate, a company that owns businesses ranging from Geico and the Burlington Northern Santa Fe Railroad to consumer brands like Dairy Queen, Duracell and Fruit of the Loom, are down slightly this year, lagging the market as the S&P 500 is up 6%. Berkshire Hathaway also has a giant stock portfolio that Buffett helps run. Apple AAPL is now by far the top holding for Berkshire, which also has big stakes in Bank of America, BSC, Chevron, CVX, American Express, AXP, and Coca-Cola, KO. So is Berkshire's portfolio, dare we say it, a little too boring. After all, if you want to exposure to the big blue chips he owns, you could just buy an S&P 500 index fund. Buffett, in fact, has promoted that idea to investors many more times, arguing that most individual stock pickers will not be able to beat the market. And still in the United States of America, this Monday, February the 20th, marks President's Day. The federal holiday falls on the third Monday of February, commemorating America's 45 commanders-in-chief. who served 2 non-consecutive terms, and so is considered the 22nd and 24th US president. Officially, the holiday is known as Washington's birthday, and it usually falls around George Washington's February 22nd date of birth. Though most retail stores will be open, many corporate offices and government agencies will not be operating today. And here's what's open and closed on President's Day 2023. The President's Day is a bank holiday in Federal Reserve System, so most banks are usually closed. Notably, TD Bank will open today, and online banking and ATM machines at other banks will be of service. The New York Stock Exchange and NASDAQ will be closed. Also, mailing will be closed today. In the Middle East, Afghanistan's Taliban government says it will turn some former foreign military bases into economic zones for businesses. Afghanistan has faced a deepening economic and humanitarian crisis since the Taliban regained control of the country in August 2021. Foreign military forces had been in the country for 2 decades. The decision was announced by Acting Deputy Prime Minister for Economic Affairs, Mullah Abdul Ghani Baradar. He added that the project will begin with sites in the capital of Kabul and the northern Balk province, but did not give further details. Instagram and Facebook users will now be able to pay for a blue tick verification, according to parent company Meta. Meta Verified will cost $11.99 a month on web or $14.99 for iPhone users. It will be available in Australia and New Zealand this week. Mark Zuckerberg, Meta chief executive, said the move will move to improve security and authenticity on the social media apps. The move comes after Elon Musk, owner of Twitter, implemented the premium Twitter Blue subscription in November 2022. Amazon is ordering thousands of its workers back to the office for at least 3 days per week, according to a company memo by CEO Andy Jassy. The move, which takes effect on May the 1st, marks an end to the remote or hybrid-friendly policy that has been in place at Amazon AMZN previously. It comes a month after Amazon confirmed plans to lay off more than 18,000 workers amid broad uncertainty in the economy. In defending the policy change, JC argued that in-person work would lead to better collaboration and company culture. He also said that in-person requirements would give a boost to the local economies where Amazon's offices are located, calling out the company's urban headquarters location in the Puget Sound, Virginia, Nashville, and the dozens of cities around the world where their employers go to office. And finally, a new online shopping platform linked to one of China's top retailers has quickly become the most downloaded app in the United States, surpassing Amazon and Walmart. Now it's looking to capitalize from an appearance on America's biggest stage. Temu, a Boston-based airline retailer that shares the same owner as Chinese social commerce giant Pinduoduo, made its Super Bowl debut yesterday. Temu, which runs an online superstore for virtually everything from home goods to apparel to electronics, unveiled a commercial during the game that encouraged consumers to shop like a billionaire. The 30-second spot shows the company's proposition to users and feels like you are splurging by buying lots of stuff cheaply. A woman's swimsuit on Temu costs just $6, while a pair of wireless earphones is priced at $8, and an eyebrow trimmer at 90 cents, among others.
In closing, not abandoning that Bank of Uganda named Stanbic Bank Primary Dealer of the Year 2022. Stanbic Bank Uganda has won the Bank of Uganda Award for Best Performing Dealer Market Maker for 2022, becoming the first to earn the honor for a record 11 times since its inception 18 years There you go. That marks the end of our local news channels. Over to you, Mercy Gachagua.
Thank you for watching Channel 44. You are great viewers. That brings us to the end of this afternoon's business news segment. Well, I remind you that we are having revival nights every day. Dream interpretation is becoming more and more. Dream interpretation is becoming more and more interesting, with great deliverance sessions happening all over the place. Come and have an encounter with the Holy Spirit, and your life will not remain the same again. Otherwise, we'll meet again tomorrow in the morning. We'll be here together with Bill, bringing you the latest news update. Stay tuned to Channel 44. God bless you.